There's a beautiful story with the Netziv. The Netziv has his famous commentary to the Torah. I'm sure you have it here in the Beis HaMedrash, the Hamek Dovo. And he wrote a number of other Sfarim as well. His most magnificent work was a sefer called the Hamek She'iltas, Hamek She'elo, Hamek She'elo. The Hamek She'elo is a 3-volume work. It's a commentary to what's called the She'iltas, and when he completed this work after many years, he made a big party, a big Seudah. And he stood up and he said, you might be wondering, why am I making such a big party? It's true. Very proud achievement. So he said, I'll tell you, because when I was a young boy, I wasn't very studious, and I was not really putting in my effort into Limud HaTorah. I was misbehaving. And I overheard my parents speaking in the kitchen. I was standing outside. They didn't know that I was listening. And I overheard my mother say, she said in Yiddish, "Was geht sein?" What's going to be with our little Naftali Tzvi Yehuda? What's going to be with him? We know he has potential, but he's not applying himself. He's not putting in his koiches. We know he could be a big person. And what's going to come of him? Is he going to become a simple shoemaker? And I was so moved by the tears of my mother that I decided to turn things around, and I started putting in koiches, and Baruch Hashem, I've now finished writing the Hamek She'elo. So why the Seudah? Because he says, after 120 and I come upstairs to the Bezdin Shul Malo, imagine had I just been a simple shoemaker. And they would have asked me, very nice shoes, but where's your Hamek She'elo? And I wouldn't have known what they were talking about. Hamek, what? Yeah, it's a great 3-volume magnificent work that you could have written. Me? Little old me, I'm a shoemaker. I don't know any Torah, I don't know anything. And then they'll show him the video, not of the life that he lived, but of the life that he could have lived. And they would have asked me, well, why didn't you live that life? You could have become great. And I wouldn't have had an answer. So I'm making a Seudah today to celebrate the fact that Baruch Hashem, I won't have to answer that question. That's an important story. Why? Because we're told that here one of the Gedolei Yisrael struggled as a child. And let's not make a mistake, everybody. To become a Gadol B'Yisrael, when I wish this young person this week, I hope your son becomes a Gadol B'Yisrael, I didn't necessarily mean that I have a long white beard and everybody running after him. What I meant was he'd fulfill his potential in becoming an Eved Hashem. And in that respect, every person can and must become a Gadol B'Yisrael. Yes, we may not have our names splashed upon the front page of the newspaper. That's not the definition of a Gadol B'Yisrael. We may not have our photographs plastered all over. That's not the definition of a Gadol B'Yisrael. Nobody will get extra Gan Eden because they had their photograph around, because they're famous. They'll get extra Gan Eden if they become a Gadol B'Yisrael. Not born to greatness, but achieving greatness. Becoming a Gadol. Becoming a Gadol. And if we don't believe that our children can become Gedolim, can fulfill their potential, become great people, then it won't happen. Like we said, there's no guarantees. Vayelech ish mi beis Levi, vayikach es bas Levi. It's all very anonymous. Don't think that Moshe Rabbeinu became great because he had great parents. No, he became great because he became great. So we have to help our children believe that they can become great. Of course, we have responsibilities of chinuch to our children, our grandchildren. Let me just finish with one very beautiful story. As we said before, you're allowed to quote from the Goyim. Im yesh chochma b'goyim ta'amin. I just want to read to you one paragraph. Maybe some of you have heard this before, but it's very moving and it's very beautiful. Thomas Edison was a great inventor. They claim that he invented the light bulb, although some disagree. But he was definitely one of the greatest inventors in recent history. So I'd like to just read one small paragraph. One day, Thomas Edison came home as a young child. And he gave a piece of paper to his mother, and he told her, my teacher gave me this paper and told me to only give it to my mother. I don't know what it says, but you have to read it. His mother's eyes were tearful as she read the letter out to her child. And she said, Thomas, this is what it says. Your son is a genius, and this school is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers for training him. Please teach him yourself. After many, many years, after Edison's mother died, Edison was one of the greatest inventors of the century. And one day he was looking through old family items, and suddenly he saw a folded paper in the corner of a drawer in a desk. It was this note from all those years back. And he took it up and he opened it. And on the paper was written, your son is mentally ill. We won't let him come to school anymore. That, in fact, was what was written on the note, and not what his mother had read out. Edison cried for hours, and then wrote in his diary, Thomas Edison was a mentally ill child, but by a hero mother became the genius of the century. It's a very beautiful story, but the limud for us is that we have to believe in our children. We have to believe that every one of them has a tafkid, and every one of them is destined to become great. And as we said before, greatness doesn't mean becoming all famous and have your picture on the front page of every newspaper and they sing for you when you come into a room. That's not the definition of greatness. When we come upstairs to the Bezin Shalmalo, nobody will ask them, well, how many times do they sing Yomim Al Yimei Melech when you enter the Beis HaMedrash? Nobody gets Gan Eden for that. But they'll ask him, did you fulfill your potential? And we as parents and as grandparents have that role to believe in our children. To invest them with this emunah, to daven for them, that they can become great. And like we said, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, even if the parents are indeed great, Amram and Yecheved, nobody should ever think that because Amram married Yecheved and they were the Gedolei Hadoir, so obviously they had Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, and Miriam HaNaviah as children. No, it was not obvious. They became great. And Kol Echad could be, everybody could be like Moshe Rabbeinu. If we don't believe it can happen, then it will never happen. So Mitzvah Hashem, we should all have that Siyata D'Shmaya to fulfill our own potential, to become great people, and to see our children also fulfilling theirs. Amen v'amen.